Oh, hi there. My name is Dylan James Weaver, but you can call me Dylan, and this is the podcast. I was just editing one of my episodes here. Just a few last adjustments, and there. Let's see how it sounds. Listen to that! It sounds good! Now all we need to figure out is what to say. But that's alright, speaking extemporaneously is what we do best here on our side of the industry. So why don't you come along for today's Wad Fam Chalk Pod. Hello and welcome to the Wad Fam Chalk Pod. I'm Dylan Weaver.
And I'm Andrew Sabo.
And we are here for another episode of Guest Season with a special guest. You would know him from the Worst of All Possible Worlds podcast. He is an actor, a playwright, involved in Puffs as one of those two things. It's
AJ Ditty.
Hey, look at that.
Hey.
He's here.
On the
Hi,
podcast.
everybody. Hello, Chalk Squad. It is so wonderful.
Oh, wow. He did his homework, folks.
To get to speak to you all, to become one of from being one of the Chalk Squad to then being on the other side. Let me tell you, the water's great, everyone.
The water is great.
There you go. Oh, man.
We are even less likable in person.
No, truly, thank
Yeah.
you both for having me on. I'm a big fan of the podcast, and I'm so excited to be here to talk about a show I just hate so much.
Amen.
Yeah, understandable. I think that's the correct opinion to have, as opposed to wherever Andrew and I land in the mushy middle, you know?
It's... Go
No,
ahead.
Unfortunately, I also land in the mushy middle, and that's just fuels my hatred even more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nope, I hear that.
I hate that I like some of it. And I hate that I like some of it a lot.
And here's the thing: I haven't even gotten to the good stuff yet. From what I understand, I'm still on my podcast. You know, we're slowly working our way through it, and I believe both of you grew up with this podcast, so you experienced the transfer from Hal Smith to his successor, I think, a lot sooner than I have, because we probably won't be getting to him for another 3 years, 3 or 4 years at the rate we're going.
Right, whereas when we started listening, they were, both had already happened. Or we were in the middle of Wit 2, and so
Electric
it
Boogaloo,
was...
yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Wit in the city.
Oh boy! It was so amazing how they put peanut butter into Wit's mouth to make him talk in that movie.
Yeah, it was really funny. I mean, they didn't need to. He's a person, but...
Well, and the thing that everyone always forgets is that also has a Thunderdome. We don't talk about it enough.
It does. It does. Oh man, amazing.
Oh, it was just the perfect platform for Wit to espouse his Billy Graham evangelical tirade from. It was
From a Thunderdome.
from a Thunderdome.
Yeah.
In the Thunderdome. To the Thunderdome.
Yes. Any adverb? I don't know how things work. I'm so sorry. My brain short circuited there. But yeah, no. So we are on. I think the last episode that we listened to was the lost episode. Pamela Has a Problem. Which have you both
yep.
heard that one?
Oh, yes.
Very much so. As a child, in fact.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Did your parents
But
send away for like the CD, or was it on the radio?
The church library got the entire Lost Episodes album, and I remember being very excited when that came out because this was Forbidden Odyssey, and they all come with parental warnings, which as a child who was limited, right, exactly, like you're limited in what you can consume, there's nothing more exciting than a parental warning before it.
Oh, absolutely.
Hold on to your butts.
Yeah, no, and that was a wild episode. It's just, I don't understand this, and maybe you can both explain this to me a lot better. Why does Wit just like leave people alone? Like, I feel like so many problems could be solved if he just minded his own damn business most of the time. Can you explain to me his psychology now, having listened to like all three Wits, like, and their regenerations, I guess?
So I think to sum it up best, he's God, and the showrunners are not deists, or they don't have like the like, you know, classic, like, we just like they're not big fans of the clockworker or clockmaker version of God,
Sure, yeah.
where you just create, you know, the thing and then step out. You have to be very like involved in the day-to-day, as God.
It's funny because they're huge Ben Franklin fans. They're huge Ben Franklin fans.
They love the Founding Fathers, but they seem to have an imagined view of what the Founding Fathers believed.
The Focus on the Family people have imagined views? No.
I know. It's crazy.
Wow.
Who'd have thought?
Yeah.
Have they leveraged it into political power yet, or are we still waiting for that to come down the pipe?
Oh, no. That'll be another couple years. Hold on. I'm sorry. 9 more Supreme Court decisions just dropped. It's bad. It's real bad. Apparently, they've decided to use it all at once.
Oh, cool. Cool.
Yeah. No problems here.
Not on this podcast.
Never once.
Oh man, you touched on it a bit there, AJ. But what brought you to Adventures in Odyssey if you did not listen to it growing up?
My horrible friends Brian and Josh, my co-hosts of The Worst of All Possible Worlds. What's interesting is that Adventures in Odyssey does not seem to affect Brian in the way that it affects both Josh and I. For Josh, it's like religious trauma, you know? It's a lot of like working through his own, like, being exposed to this and all, you know, basically him coming to grips with his own religious upbringing. Brian, it doesn't do anything to him except he thinks it's sort of kind of funny. He recently did a road trip where he willingly chose to listen to a modern arc of modern Odyssey, just like for like 11 hours straight, just like listening to this. I think it's the one where a group of homosexuals like vandalize Wits End. Yeah, that's got to be it. That must be it. I don't know
that
about
is.
I'm
100%.
so sorry.
Yeah, no. But he was like, oh yeah, it was fine. You know, it was fine. And I was like, how could you do that? And for me, it's like it's learning to drink a poison. Like, it's just little shots at a time, and then you slowly become more and more immune to like the harsh psychological effects. It's not great to listen to, but it doesn't hurt me in quite the same way as it used to, because I get the archetypes now, and I've been sort of more versed in the language of the culture wars that Focus on the Family are specifically trying to wage with the episodes that we listen to, because I know that actually a lot of Odyssey are just kind of hangout episodes, you know. And this one in particular that we're talking about today is, it's something. It's something. It is a Bible story, but it's always so funny to me when Odyssey tackles Old Testament stories, because they don't really seem to be as much in their element other than knowing facts about them. Like, there's not a lot of spirit behind it. It's very base level readings of the Old Testament stories in a way that they have really, really studied the New Testament, and you can hear that in those recordings.
Yeah, no, you're, nail on the head there, which I feel like is feels very evangelical, like very much the background that Focus has as well, not as concerned about the more historical books and much more focused on New Testament.
Right. Well, I was very excited because they talk about this is the Bible story with King Nebuchadnezzar that I learned from VeggieTales, which
beautiful.
All of my Protestant friends growing up watched VeggieTales. That was their big thing. None of them listened to Odyssey, which is striking to me, but I think it's because we were in California, and Odyssey does not like Californians. I don't know if you've noticed.
No, it does not.
Very anti.
Yeah, it feels like... was it Lawler that went to USC, or was it McCusker, or was it Dobson? Is this like a Dobson thing that then like made its way down through the ranks?
Right. So Dobson for sure. I don't know about the educational backgrounds of the other kind of brains behind Odyssey, but
sure.
I'm sure.
And
the
also
Dobson
don't
influence.
learn them. You don't have to learn them. I relieve you of ever having that knowledge.
I know way too much. Something you said there, though, you mentioned your Protestant friends as though you are not one of us.
Oh, no.
What's going on here, AJ?
I'm a dirty papist. I am. I was raised Catholic, and then I left. I was never confirmed into the church because I asked too many questions. And
the new pope would love you.
Yes, that's true. That's true. He honestly,
Jude Law?
I check in every once in a while, see how the church is doing, and he refuses to like actually be like the best pope ever, but he's kind of the closest we've ever come. I think he's probably. I mean, since
it's a low bar.
It is a very low bar, incredibly low. We had a Nazi a little while ago, so like
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, we just really love bureaucracy. I mean, that's the thing about Catholics. It's just like we really like to kick things down the line.
Oh yeah, like 1,000 years if we can.
Yeah. But I was raised Catholic, but my mom is an atheist. So what would happen is every Sunday, my mom would get mysteriously sick and couldn't come to church with us. And then around age 9, I caught on that. Oh wait, this is actually physically impossible to only be sick one day a week. And I remember very distinctly going up to her right before Sunday, right before we went off to church. And I said, Mom, aren't you worried that God will be mad at you? And my mom looked at me in the eyes and she said, oh, sweetie, there is no God. So
classic. She could have just said no.
Yeah. No. She could.
Or there is no hell, which is like
also a good argument.
Yeah, but I mean, it was like a whoa. So I feel like I kind of got the best of both worlds because I do still marvel at like the mystery of the greater universe. I do believe that there is like a higher power out there, but I've inherited sort of my mom's skepticism about people who try and use that message and use your yearning for like something greater to manipulate you into getting more power for themselves, which seems to be a lot of the higher ups that focus on the family's whole MO.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I
got a donation request email today.
Did you really?
Oh yeah.
Andrew, please read off the subject line of that email because it is incredible.
I can't wait. Oh my God.
Oh, there it is. Andrew, I am not going to wish you a happy holidays.
Holy shit.
I love that they use, like, they throw my first name in.
Yeah.
It really gives it that personal touch that I was missing by not going to church.
I love being threatened over email.
Yeah.
It's
by an auto-generated donation request.
Oh, my word. It's so needlessly combative.
Send us $5 or we'll kill Connie. Like, is there like a...
we have Eugene locked in a basement.
It's the opposite of the Jason Todd thing where they killed off the character by, people mailing in, addressing mail and sending that in to kill off Jason Todd back in the day.
Yeah,
it's the reverse of that where they're like, we will kill Connie if you don't donate to us.
I'm just imagining Eugene locked in a basement, forced to like make Eugene Sings albums every once in a while, being pushed plates of pancakes under a doorway.
And you see Phil Lawler standing on the first floor holding like marionette strings and just like
okay, well this is another question I have. Who wrote this episode? Who wrote V.B.S?
Oh, who do you think?
It is written and directed by Phil Lawler.
There it is. Yes, I know a Lawler script. That's the worst thing. By having listened to this much Odyssey, now I can smell a Lawler episode from space. Yeah. This little freak, this pervert, just comes in here and starts making me listen to a teenager? Question mark? Ned is his name, right?
Yep.
Ned is his name, and to be clear for those listening along, the episode we're talking about today is episode 35, V.B.S. Blues, off of the second album of Odyssey.
Wow, very early on.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. July 16th, 1988 is when this debuted.
This is
And
older than
it's
me. This is an episode that is
still-
older than me.
And it last played March 28th of 2022. So, boy, is it still out there.
That IP is being milked.
No, I'll tell you.
And I'm sure all of the actors involved are getting great residuals for that.
That was about
yeah.
to be my next question. Don. Like how? It's a flat rate, I'd imagine. It's a non-union flat rate per episode, but you just do a million of them.
For the early stuff, they are now part of the union.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So they're, I forget as of when, I want to say like mid-aughts, they, for whatever reason, were no longer able to operate the way they had been.
Oh, interesting. Well,
so we got the pivot, and I don't know if that was. The details of that are really unclear. The economics of Odyssey are something that we often speculate about, but I have no actual insight into what's going on.
yeah.
You know,
Have
we've
y'all
put out many a call to people who've worked on the show to come and set the record straight, and hasn't happened yet.
Well, you better hurry because most of them are dying. It seems at a very
Dark.
alarming rate. Have you been to Wits End? Have you been to Colorado Springs?
Have not. Yeah.
Y'all gonna make that pilgrimage at some point for the 900th episode, or whatever y'all decide to finale.
Oh man.
I
mean, it's tempting. I've
have
got friends. Oh, you've got a hat.
That's where my
hat.
mail hat is from. It's Wooten's hat.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
a character
yeah.
I have not heard in an episode yet, but I have heard referenced quite a bit as being.
Oh, he's a real treat. Actually, honestly, one of the more genuinely funny characters in the show to me. But
Again,
no.
like the Popes, a low bar to clear, a very, very low bar to clear.
yeah, it was purchased for me by somebody who lived in that area, and for reasons of personal trauma, we are no longer on speaking terms.
It's because you started this podcast, isn't
Yeah.
it, Andrew? Okay.
It's exactly. That's exactly it. I turned my back just the slightest bit on Focus on the Family, and he just stabbed me right in the back.
You took your focus off the family. That's why you have to
I
focus
did.
on them.
I
because if
really
they don't,
did.
they
I
will
was-
stab you.
Trying to focus on the road. I was driving. Like, it was nighttime. I don't know. I felt like I was doing the right thing, but
Oh, lordy.
So what are the staples of a Phil Lawler episode, AJ, from your fresh eyes?
He tries and I think the biggest sign is the attempts at comedy. I think that he, above everyone else, really tries to lean into like the 1940s, like 1930s like shtick of it. Like all the kids in this episode sound like gangsters. Sound like they're gangsters from the 1930s.
One is called Muggsy.
Yeah, his name is
It's not
Muggsy.
like subtext. It's text.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely there. There's a joke that one of them tells at one point. It's. Sorry, just let me look this up real quick. I wrote it down because I got so angry.
do you write your angry notes in all caps too?
Oh, I sure do. But I don't do caps lock. I hold down Shift and stab
Yep,
the
yep.
keyboard. Yeah, that really releases.
It's the only
anger.
way to get. Yeah, it's the only way to get it out.
There it is. Okay, I found it. So one of the kids, Ned is trying to explain to these kids that the story of King Nebuchadnezzar throwing these, the three dudes into the furnace, and he says, he was the king of Babylon, and then one of the kids says, Babylon? Does this mean he talks a lot?
Yeah.
And
No.
it's just such an annoying comedy thing that Odyssey does, where the kid will either
the
sound
time.
like he's 4 years old or like have the yucks of a 50s sitcom writer. Like, it's just, there is no in between. And that's a Lawler trait, I think. I think that's like a very specifically Phil Lawler sign. I know it's a McCusker episode because it's good.
I'm so glad you've reached this conclusion as well.
That man has brain worms that I will never fully understand, but there are just moments where he nails it.
Just you wait. I mean, a lot of the Novacom stuff is orchestrated by him.
I've heard a
good.
lot about Novacom. I'm assuming it has something to do with Guardians of the Galaxy. That's about the extent of my knowledge at this point.
Exactly
Perfect.
the same thing.
No problem. Yeah, we gotta be careful, Andrew. We can't spoil AJ too much on what's to come, because that is one of the best parts of the Worst of All Possible Worlds is when you get really worked up and have strong reactions to the stuff that you're hearing for the first time, and they're all just kind of like, yeah, we know. Like, whatever.
It truly does feel like Chicken Little sometimes, where it's like the sky is falling, and instead of everyone being like, we don't believe you, they're like, oh yeah, it's been doing that since 1987.
Yep. Oh man. Well, I think we've set up what we're here to talk about pretty well at this point. So I'm gonna go ahead and roll the radio promo for this episode.
And I never get to hear these. I'm so excited to hear this promo.
The old ones are good.
Let's go.
The trouble started with Eugene Muggsy Mumford.
Yo, we want to be in your play.
You're kidding.
Next time on Adventures in Odyssey, Vacation Bible School is not going well for Ned Lewis.
I mean, why me?
Will V.B.S. ever be the same?
But when King Nebuchadnezzar looked into the furnace, he was amazed.
Keep me oil in my lamp. Keep me burning.
Find out on the next Adventure in Odyssey.
Oh my god, it plays for so long.
Oh yeah.
Well, you got to be able to fade it into whatever the next commercial is.
Yeah, I know, but
No, but they all, and some of them are way worse than that. That was like relatively tight.
yeah,
It's
30 seconds. I'll tell you, they got it in.
Yep.
But it's also, they could get it in, I think, that quickly, because I feel like you could add an addendum to any of these saying, the stakes could not be lower.
yeah, no, for sure. Until the stakes get very high.
Very high indeed. The
Like, that's the thing, is it's either a, like, 50s sitcom plot or it's a spy adventure.
Yeah, I was spoiled on the fact that apparently Wits End does get blown up by terrorists. Is that a true thing that happens?
I mean, in general terms, not
Okay.
to get specific,
Great.
but
All right.
you're in the ballpark.
The thing you both should also know about me and the way I stay sane listening to these Adventures in Odyssey episodes is that I do an entirely separate lore underneath of what's happening in the actual thing. So, you know, what's funny about it is the number of times where I've put something into the lore that turns out to be true, which then I have to be like, oh no, should I have written for Odyssey?
Here's the thing, AJ. There's still time.
No, there's not. It's
Not for him.
No, you had me until my mother looked me in my eyes, and and staring into those like ice blue eyes of my mother, and hearing the words "There is no God." Up
like,
until
okay.
that point, you could have, but after that point, I just be like, I don't know. My mom said there's no God, so I don't think I can write for this.
I don't know, man. If you hit, like, enough professional rock bottom, are you saying, like...
Oh, it's like a
even
hack
then?
situation, like
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
Great
Like,
show. Great call out.
Yeah. Well, look, what is James Dobson if not?
Whatever her face is. The older comedian.
No. Oh, how
Oh.
embarrassing! I should
Bring up a
Gene
show,
Smart.
don't
It's Gene Smart.
oh,
There
it
it
is Gene Smart.
It's yeah. No, I look. Here's the thing. I will do most things for money. So
Yeah.
It's the unfortunate reality in which we live.
the problem is that I wouldn't be able to take me out of it. So it would be the darkest, weirdest episode of Odyssey you'd ever think, like you'd ever see. Like Wit would go through the no door, which is what I call the room of consequences. And on the other side would be a version of him staring at him in the eyes, and he would actually have to face himself, like one of the past wits. We'd get like somebody to like impersonate him, and he'd actually have to like stand trial for like all of his sins against the community. And then at the end, you can make it a dream if you want. I don't care. But like, I feel like I just need Wit to suffer a little bit, I need there to be some consequences for his actions.
Okay, now AJ, hear me out.
Mm-hmm.
We find a, modern, more progressive church.
Sure.
And we get them to put this on.
Uh-huh.
You write the script
Yes.
for what you just described, and we put it on as a production at that church.
Look, more than willing to do that. I find, I know a lot of very progressive church folks who, it seems to me like the church is mostly being driven now by the LGBTQ community, like the ones that are most active and looking for that, like to retake ownership of it, and is that community. And I think that's very encouraging, because I think that there is. It shows such glimmer that you can retake all the good stuff and the stuff that Jesus actually preached and actually put that into effect, and it could be a very beautiful and thriving community. It's just that you also get churches doing Hamilton without paying for it, and rewriting it so that it's about Jesus a little bit, or what's all the churches doing the Marvel things too, where Iron Man gets crucified. That Jenny Nicholson did that YouTube video on, which if you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's a treat.
Worth the watch.
I think you both especially would get a real kick out of it. But it's funny you should mention that, because Brian and I have been working on a project for a little while now. It's our own Christian radio drama called Antioch, Indiana, and it is about a fictional Christian show called Antioch in Indiana, which is being listened to by somebody in their 30s, and what we're hearing is the taped over versions of it. So there's two plots going on simultaneously, where we just follow a very normal sort of Odyssey episode, but the characters in it have been looping forever. So
okay, this is very compelling. So
the guy playing Wit, the Wit stand-in basically is aware that everything loops, and he keeps everyone trapped in there so he can still be the God King of his little town. And it's about the characters in the show realizing that something's wrong and that they have done a lot of these beats before, and then trying to rise up and escape out of this hell, frankly, that this character's created for them.
You're making this sound real good.
Yeah, look,
You sold me. I'll invest. What is this? Is this on Patreon?
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I think one of our stretch goals eventually, because we want to do it. We want to do it right, because one of the things that I think you guys talk about a lot on your podcast is just how good the production quality of Odyssey is, and that if there's any redeeming value to it at all, is that it is so well produced and is so polished. And even these early episodes, even V.B.S. Blues, is just it's so, the Foley is so good. I don't know why on the day that they're going to be performing this sketch, there's still hammering going on in the background.
But it's there.
It sure is. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
That's the what is it, the kindergartners or whatever that perform before them?
Yes, it is. They're the ones wielding the power tools in the background.
Yeah.
Look, we got to get a break on. We have a juice box with our name on it.
Speaking of union workers,
yeah, here we go.
We gotta unionize the kindergartners.
We gotta unionize most of Odyssey. What is Wit paying Connie? $3 an hour? Come on!
Pizza, ice cream, and maybe pizza.
Yeah.
It's whatever. What does he say? Whatever the department store was going to pay you, go down there, ask what they were going to pay you, and I'll give you that.
Yeah, and then doesn't he call the department store and say, don't give her the job? He's very manipulative.
Basically. Yep.
Oh, yeah. No, that's kind of his thing.
Yeah, well, especially, because I've heard that the next Wit 2, I'm forgetting the actor's name who plays Wit 2.
It is Paul Herlinger.
Paul Herlinger. I hear that's sort of the Wit that everyone wants to gravitate to, because he's so nice and caring, and he is sort of this very lovely grandfatherly figure. Whereas Wit 1, Old House Smith, is mean. These episodes are mean in a way.
He's like a cackling old man in this episode. Where he's just you guys don't even know. Oh my gosh, you guys are ridiculous.
Yeah.
The key is that they allow Herlinger Arrow is maybe the most mature the show ever gets in a lot of ways.
Interesting.
And so as part of that, they allow him to have flaws during that era in a way that like he can't currently, and he doesn't in the new era. He couldn't in the original era, but for that brief window of time where we've got Hurlinger, he is like, there's a little bit more depth, and he's not always right. And that is, and I think they even hit that towards the end of some of the Hal Smith stuff.
Yeah, there's flashes of it for sure in the Hal Smith years. My favorite episode that we listened to so far is Monty's Christmas.
Yeah.
Mostly because Whit's not really in it a whole lot, truthfully.
Sure.
But,
And Monty and his mom are like a really good dynamic in the early episodes.
they really are, and I mean,
And they're the
scene-
least Christian.
They sure are, and I guess maybe that's why I gravitate towards it. But that scene in the mall between Connie and Monty is just so devastatingly beautiful. It's just like Connie's like, "Hey, yeah, this divorce kind of really sucks, and I've been through it. I've come out the other side. Do you want to go shopping or something?" And Monty's like, "Yeah, okay." But it's all done like in this like very subtle, very human way, and it's just, it gives you glimpses of the show that this could be, like the actual honestly, without beating you over the head with the teaching of Jesus, showing you through actions, like what he would do. That I fully believe that's what Jesus would do, would come in and be like, "Hey, you're going through a bad time. Let me help you through it." He was a healer, for God's sake. That's what he mostly did.
Literally.
Yeah, apart from flipping tables and, building tables, I guess.
He was just anti-capitalist.
Yeah, he was. He sure was.
At least as it relates to God. So, like, fair?
Now that
So
I'm thinking about it, Jesus really
the
did a
opposite
lot.
of focus on the family.
He's the
is what
exact
you're
opposite
saying,
of focus
Andrew.
on the family. And now that I think about it, Jesus really does have a lot to do with tables. And it just makes me think of the I Think You Should Leave sketch of, what is her job? It's tables! His job is tables!
Tables. It's just tables.
Oh my gosh, that show is incredible.
It really, it's sublime.
Tim Robinson, claiming him as my own from Detroit.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I just started watching Detroiters, and it is a delight. I love that show so much.
Oh man. So Andrew, I don't know which copy of this you listened to, but I provided AJ with the radio broadcast, which I had forgotten had ads, and so I am sorry about that.
No.
But
No.
It
Thank
did
you.
mean that you get the Chris intro skit, which is
sure did.
very important. If I was like, I don't know if that's something that you've
No, that's not on the,
borne witness to before. It doesn't make it for the album cut, and I need your thoughts.
Well, I'm shocked that it didn't make the album cut because it's so necessary to understanding the rest of the episode. I've heard a couple Chris skits before. My favorite has to be when she seems to be very aroused at the thought of leaves.
yeah.
It's a classic.
Yeah, that one is
Very
just
horny.
very soup's horned for leaves, and it's always funny because I now know that Chris doesn't really live in Odyssey, but in like later episodes, but like in these early ones, that she's just a member of the town who also can speak directly to God, which is us, I guess, in this world, or like we're the choir invisible that she addresses. But it is, it sounds like she's recording this at the bottom of a well, even though she says she's in a post office. And she meets up with a robot?
The echo is, so the echo's a lot.
Yeah.
And then, which might also be because, like, I don't know how much of that is the crappy radio recording, just adding a bunch of echo, and or amplifying the echo that was already there, and how much of an actual choice it was.
Sure, yeah.
But there's a ton of echo, and then, she meets a card counter, which is apparently an appliance at the post office, and this one's name is Claude, and the entire opening bit is just alliteration with the letter C.
Yeah, so his full name is Clauderado, which is, I guess, Colorado, now that I say it out loud. I guess it's just a play on Colorado. Is that?
You're absolutely right, and I didn't get it, and embarrassed, but also not.
No, it's very unclear. First of all, he's doing an impression of Dustin Hoffman and Rain Man, I think, because they're both card counters. I think is the logic there. It's a bad
Oh no,
choice.
you're absolutely right, and I'm once again ashamed I didn't make that connection. That is such a weird stretch.
Yeah, no,
But
I flipped a table.
There's no
when I
way
figured
you're
that out.
wrong.
No, and it made me so sad. When he started speaking, my first initial impulse was to scream, unplug him. Because
Well, and you know who the voice is.
is that Will Ryan?
No, it is Phil Lawler.
Yep.
Damn it!
Yep.
It almost always is if Chris is talking to someone in the opening. 9 times out of 10, it's Phil testing out one of his voices.
Oh boy. Okay, so here's the thing. I can't fully go after the guy for that because I also made a podcast where I have an excuse to do silly voices. Like, I get it. Phil Lawler, I think, has a lot of strengths. Voice acting, not really one of them, unfortunately.
But have you heard his pirate?
I have heard his pirate. I don't.
Oh, that brings me so much joy.
I don't think I'll ever fully recover from hearing his pirate. I feel like
He's so proud of it.
He is.
Breaks it out so many times.
he really does. We had to do an episode on PragerU on and there's a thing that we watched where Dennis Prager does a pirate as well, which to Phil Lawler's credit, his is better than Dennis Prager's. But again, that bar is so low, it is in the Earth's core. Like, it is. Oh boy. Yeah, no, it's bad, and I think, you know what? Honestly, good for him. He's made a whole living instilling fear and shame into children across the country. He gets to have a little voice as a treat every now and then, I guess.
Yeah. The other like just the wild limbo, like these intro, like the Chris intros exist in such a liminal space.
Yes.
Where it's like she might be in Odyssey, she might not. She's talking to a machine, which is not something that like happens in the real Odyssey in like that kind of a way. Like we get Mabel, and like we have some like, you know, AI characters, but it's a different vibe. And then the machine tells her to start the theme song. Mm-hmm. At which point she presses play on the theme song. We hear like the canned wit thing, and then we come back to the scene. Like it's like a good 5 minutes on the top of this episode.
Yeah,
that is just
they had to
like
stretch it.
Weird jokes based around how many words can we say with the letter C, which I assume, AJ, is why you're wearing a hat with a C on it.
Yes, this is my C hat. I am Colorado, the card counting machine from Adventures in Odyssey. Come to life. It's like the fun thing about Odyssey is that it's actually the castle from Beauty and the Beast, and we just needed Wit and Connie to finally get together, and then I could be transformed back into a human. This is a Criterion Channel hat that I bought because we recently started a new podcast called Fancy Movie Time with Brian and AJ that's on our Patreon, and I like don't know anything about movies really. It's just not my forte. And so I bought the hat.
So it's the way I am about video games,
Yes.
you are about movies.
Yes,
okay,
exactly.
Okay.
I'm trying to be more into movies, and this is sort of my way of doing that, is to watch fancy movies that I've just never seen before. Yeah. So I bought the Criterion hat, and sort of.
And now I'm ashamed I didn't realize it was Criterion, but it's weird seeing it from an angle. See, like now I can see it.
There you go.
I need the squared off, like see it directly on.
Please send me recommendations of movies I need to watch, because I've seen almost nothing.
Do you ask the ape? Dylan has options.
Great. This is so great.
Dylan's brain is like 80% movie knowledge and 20% Bible / homeostasis related activience.
Hell yeah. That's a potent combination. And perfect for this podcast. That's the thing. You have refined it to like a diamond sheen.
Oh man.
What? How many years? 4 years?
Yep. 4 years of doing this is definitely added to my mental health and my mood. Like, that's improved my brain, not made it worse, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the thing. Like, on our podcast, we only do one Odyssey episode a month because we did 2 back to back, and Josh and I were like, we can't ever do this again. And Brian was like,
to be fair, you cover like 4 at once, though.
That's true. It is a much larger like swig, but still, I mean, y'all do this like all the time. Like, how do you take care? Are you taking care of yourselves? Are you okay? Are the two of you? Has anyone asked if you're okay?
It's very hard for me to be okay.
Oh no, Andrew! Oh no.
No, it's okay. We do our best. I graduate in the spring, so we're good.
Oh, congratulations! That's so exciting. That's coming up.
He's finally let free at the end of this thing. I didn't have the folly to choose that path in life.
Hey, it was a mistake.
Oh man, but yeah, I think to your earlier point about like some of your co-hosts being able to like Brian handling the mental piece of listening to Odyssey better than Josh. Like, I don't have the trauma associated with this show that so many people do.
Oh, wonderful.
And I understand why people have that trauma, but for whatever reason, I think a lot of it is my parents weren't the driving force behind me going and finding Odyssey.
Oh, interesting.
I went and found it on my own like enjoyed it because like I had a couple friends who listened, and because I could get it for free from the church library, and it was, in a time before podcasts or audiobooks in the same way. Sure. I could listen to it while I was building Lego or doing other things. And so it's never been it was never a moral compass. It was always stories that, like watching PBS growing up, oftentimes had morals that were applicable and interesting, but that wasn't like the thrust behind it.
Yeah.
And so I think that is a lot of my ability to not have trauma tied up in Odyssey. Is a lot of people just were exposed to it in a different way than I was, which was always very take it or leave it. I'm enjoying the stories and the message. When it's something that I've already heard and believe, this reinforces it. But when it's not, it just, for the most part, slides off.
I mean, that is a superpower, Dylan. Like, you hold on to that and you cling on to that, because that is, I think that's very useful. And I don't know.
I'm losing my superpowers, Dylan. I'm going to be honest. They're gone.
But I mean, that's so great that you were able to like mine and find the good stuff in this, and that it helped you. Do you consider yourself a storyteller, or like I guess an admirer of stories in general? Yeah,
I was gonna say way more in the camp of admirer, appreciator of stories. I think that, and that's always kind of been our lens for this show. I think because of that, because we grew up on the story, because like the thing that launched this show was us being like, what if we covered all of Novacom? Like, what if we tackled like the big arc that was so important to us and addressed it like episode by episode?
Yeah.
And so I think having, so the approach to this show, and I don't know, my worldview and whatnot, is so informed by like wanting to understand story and how to tell a story well, and what makes some episodes good versus some bad from that perspective. And then when we have stuff that's overtly about morality, we're gonna get into it and we're gonna call it what it is. But the
subliminal cultural stuff that's always going on, we're just numb to because we grew up in it.
And there will come a time, I assume, I mean, when we hit 4 years, I think I will probably also be pretty numb to it at that point. But the one pretty much constant thing with Odyssey is that it never does cease to surprise, because there's always going to be like some outrageous choice, either character or story-wise, that'll just knock me back. And for this, and this episode, surprisingly, had a couple of those. So
I'm so glad because I was like, I chose this episode because I was like, we need to do early Odyssey. Obviously, a show about a guy putting on a play just seemed like the perfect opportunity.
I'm doing jazz hands right now. I know this is an audio only medium, but I assure you, I am doing jazz hands.
The Foley for jazz hands
one
is incredibly difficult.
I'll just insert a little twinkle sound effect whenever you do the jazz hands.
Oh, great! Thank you.
Great. Just make more editing
A lot of
work
work
for
for
myself.
you, Dylan. I've already
fine.
provided enough hurdles. Swear like a sailor over here.
Oh yeah, that's such a big hurdle here.
Yeah, I've never done that with him once. No, not me.
No, it's
My
not.
good
It's
Christian
not.
vocabulary.
There's a bit.
But I was sorry.
No,
to
please
finish
go ahead.
out
No,
my
go
thought.
ahead. Yeah.
Was just I did have a bit of a concern where I was like, is there going to be meat on this episode for AJ to be like upset or surprised by, because that is so much of the joy of being like new Odyssey guy. And I was like, I have no idea. So I'm glad you found something.
Oh yeah, no, because Lawler has this amazing ability to almost hit the point and then just veer off the road into a ravine at the last second. There's almost a good lesson here in this episode. It just is the wrong one. They picked actually the wrong one. This episode should be about collaboration. It should be about Ned learning to get over his pretentious self and learning that he, as a writer of theater, because this is not a sketch. I want to be very clear about this.
Not a sketch.
This is in no way a sketch. This is him doing the story. So he's a playwright, right? He's adapting the work for the stage. And the one thing...
Just reading the Bible on stage, to my understanding.
Honestly, just reading the Bible. Like, did he expect no one to throw things in? Like, look, here's the thing. Shakespeare did it in Midsummer. You know, that's the whole thing about the last scene with the mechanicals, is that they're heckling, and that's the fun in Shakespeare's time of it. Now, obviously, all those heckles are actually just mean-spirited and bad, because all the audience wants to do is root for the mechanicals, because they're like, oh, they just want to put on a play, and that's sort of like our lens that we see it through. But he, as a playwright, the most important thing that you can learn is that you provide a blueprint, and you can never make anything as beautiful as what is made in the room with actors and a director and collaborators. It's never going to be the thing you have in your head, but I guarantee you it's going to be better. And that is the lesson this episode should have been teaching to Ned, but instead it's like, God will protect you.
Yep. Yeah, it doesn't care about that at all, despite that being a large portion of the show. And it's one of those where I'm like, I don't know what, and I don't know what the intent from Lawler as the playwright of the audio play that is Odyssey.
Yeah.
What his intent was for that. If like, I don't know if he was trying to. I don't know if he thinks that the play within the play is made better or worse because of the kids. Because it's made better, but I can't tell if he knows that.
Yeah, because the kids apologize to
does.
Ned, right?
Correct.
So I would assume in that case that Lawler's like, Lawler thinks that his piece is already perfect as is, and then, but other people, his frustration is that other people find it better when people riff on his lines, and that his greatest successes have come when that happens, but he's still a little bitter about it. Like, he can't quite let that go. And I know this is getting into the head of a man who probably wrote this in like 2 days and then threw it up because they just had to crank these things out in those early days.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say, it's during the first year when they are weekly, which just takes the fact that it can be competently written, but especially the fact that it sounds good is unbelievable given the constraints at the time.
No, absolutely. I mean, and also without cocaine. They were doing this.
Well, we don't know for sure.
You know what? That's true.
But
That's true. That we'll start that on this podcast. That the entire
The
writing
Bible doesn't
staff.
say anything
look,
about
we've
cocaine.
already made Phil Lawler mad at us multiple times. We can do it again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It is. I also think it's very interesting that the guy who tries to go after the comedy episodes of Odyssey, or like is mostly known for like trying to do the comedic episodes, at least in my experience of Odyssey, his last name literally has lol in it.
Yeah.
And
he's also the least funny man on the planet as a person.
Yep.
He does not seem to have a sense of humor in any of the weird interactions we've had.
Okay, hold on. I don't want to rehash it for like longtime listeners, but could
Oh,
you,
yeah,
could
sure,
you give me
sure.
at least one of these interactions? Because I had not heard about this, and it's all I want to know about now.
Okay, so we came at him hard for the for some of the Blackguard stuff.
Oh, okay.
That he wove into the story there. For some comments he made in an interview about those, we were like, kind of put him on blast. And then
He said that child psychologists were the devil,
he did,
and then he defended it.
He did.
My God.
And
so,
I am
right.
in school for psychotology and work with children. So I put him on blast.
So it was personal.
Yes.
So he the audio of us being mad at him was then played for him on another podcast that he has guested on multiple times. And then he responded to it with just some low blows and entire lack of humility, and not that you'd expect it from him, but also I'm like, dude, you've made a show that has run for over 30 years now.
Yeah.
You're fine.
Yeah, but
you don't.
But that like insecurity that he has,
Yeah.
like it radiates through in this episode and pretty much every episode. And
Yep.
And
it radiates through on his Facebook posts as well.
oh my God, I can't even imagine. I don't want to.
They're worse.
There's an Odyssey fan group where he just goes on, and anytime anybody is somewhat critical, he yells at them in the comments.
Listen, I was part of the official playwrights of Facebook for a very long time. You do not need to tell me about old people yelling at young people. Like I 100% get it.
It is just kind of, I could have said Facebook and left it at that, I guess.
I mean, sure. I guess at this point, yeah. But it's what a nightmare. And look, if I could address something directly to Phil Lawler, you come for my boys, Dylan and Andrew. You come at my boys, Dylan and Andrew, and you expect me to take it lying down, sir? Sir, how does it feel to be live in Paul McCusker's shadow as deeply and darkly as you do, you pitiful small man? I hope something deeply terrible happens to you, not physically, I don't want you to die or anything, but I hope something inconveniences you that makes you go, ooh, I feel so inconvenienced, ooh. And then know that it was me.
Yes.
I love that. Thank you.
I just want to point out here, too, that the card machine, Colorado, refers to... I don't mean to keep going back to Colorado, but he's
it's important.
It's worth going back to. I didn't hear it.
He's stuck in my craw. He refers to kids who send in notes to Odyssey, like that do the postmark thing and send in like postcards or whatever. He refers to them as cardies, like the kids who send in letters as cardies, which vaguely sounds to me like a very similar Odyssey slur of sitters. Except cardies is specifically about kids who like play the Pokemon trading card game, or like it'd be like, hey, you guys want to play with some of our cards? Like, oh, get out of here, cardies. And then Wit's like, oh, I heard
Japanese cartoons are of the devil.
Yes. Odyssey did an episode about that. I think I listened to it. Oh man, I don't remember at this point.
Did they?
I don't remember that
heard
one
that
offhand, but that doesn't make me doubt its existence.
I was
there
allowed to
are
play with Pokemon
over
cards.
900 of these.
I'm so sorry. I'm wrong. That's actually from Antioch, Indiana. That's the show.
There you go.
We have an episode. We have an episode about Japanese
Perfect.
cartoons. Okay. Anyway.
Perfect. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I had another question for you both. Have you ever tried a chocolate soda?
No.
Yeah. Wait, what? Dylan, you've never had one?
No, we've talked about this before. We talked about doing it as like a bonus feature for our show at some point, and we never followed through on that.
Okay.
But no, I have not had a chocolate soda, world famous or otherwise.
Is
Yeah,
there
try
a
the chocolate
difference
soda.
between a chocolate soda and like a chocolate egg cream? Because I've had a chocolate egg cream.
Yeah, I honestly think just a chocolate soda is it's chocolate milk with seltzer in it. I think.
Oh, is it? Yeah, probably. There is like an official Adventures in Odyssey recipe
Yeah.
for the Wad Fam Choc Sod.
Wow.
So, that's what we've been threatening to. At least I've been threatening to do an episode.
It was really
where I
threatening
make
over
one.
the course of 4 years when we kept saying it and
Yep.
never did it.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the moment if I were a more industrious guest, I would say, all right, so please open the packages that I've sent to both of your homes. Inside, you will find a lukewarm chocolate soda.
Yep, with milk involved.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
Even better.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
curdled.
No,
what fun.
Yeah.
A
No, this
package
is
from
really
Brooklyn.
this is like my sword of
is it
Damocles. Like this
ticking?
is hanging above my head, and at some point it will fall on me.
That has to be like a two. You guys are at almost 300 episodes, 200 episodes.
We're so 200 will hit Christmas this year is our 200th. I think.
I don't think
if-
there's a
if
better
that
time
math
of year
holds.
for a chocolate soda, friends. I think that's the time.
Ah.
I mean, you're making this tempting. We could do it. We could do it as our last of the paywalled episodes for the year. You know.
That would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Make sure we
a
get the
real
most
treat.
out of the people. Pull a
Yeah.
focus on
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wrote this note after we left Chris's well that she was trapped in. What a profound waste of everyone's time. So
Yeah.
then I guess we move into the episode proper, right? It's the
Right. It's the so we've got Ned, who is a high schooler. We find out at the very end of this episode, much to my surprise.
it was like a jump scare. I was like, what? This 50-year-old man? All right, sure, great.
Yeah. Yep. And he's running. Is he running V.B.S. as a whole, or is he running a portion of V.B.S.?
It's unclear. It seems like
yeah.
a portion because he's not in charge of the kindergartners, right? He's just in charge of the sixth
good
graders.
point,
So
good
I'd
point.
imagine. I didn't know what a V.B.S. was. Is that?
That was what I was about to ask, AJ. You took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah, no. I mean, did y'all grow up with VBSs? Was this like a common thing that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
are you familiar? Do you know what the acronym is?
I
Did you
learned.
Google and
I
find
learned.
Pick
out?
it up from the episode?
I did, but I was very chagrined to learn that it did not stand for Very Big Steve. I was really hoping that there was just going to be a character named Very Big
Very
Steve.
big.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if there was a crime episode, there might be. Or at least somebody that sounds like a very big Steve.
Oh yeah, then the Will Ryan's bumbling detective, whose name eludes me at the moment.
Harlow.
Harlow,
Or
yes, Detective
Harley.
would come along and bust really big Steve, or I guess his sidekick would. He's just Inspector Gadget, right? Like the kids do all the work, and he just kind of bumbles his way into things.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
That's-
Yes. No. 100%.
yeah. I've only listened to one Harlow Doyle episode so far.
Okay.
so.
Well, there you go.
Oh, you got to listen
he's
to
a
the
gem.
Officer Harley.
Oh
And
yeah,
we
well
know
they
we're going to that.
they cut
Yeah.
him. They cut him.
Yes, they did, but then they released them paywalled on the club.
Oh wow.
And
I've
I
been
may
binging
have-
them the last 10 days. Let me tell you.
Look, any episodes you want, I have. So
Well, look, I'll be hitting
Look,
hitting you up for some of those.
the club recently went through a redesign, which made it slightly harder to download episodes from.
But I can't imagine they have like a lot of youthful IT guys who are able to
No.
help them with that kind of stuff.
Anything you need, yeah, never pay for Odyssey.
It's so weird,
That's
listeners.
the moral
Dylan
of
just
this
opened
show.
a trench coat and it's just filled with old tapes.
Oh, yeah. Dylan's got multiple trench coats and trunks. Well, tapes are in the trunk, CDs are in the trench.
And what's that? One of the tapes just says "Do not play" on it. What's
Wait, is that the episode that you said we couldn't find?
We don't need to talk about that, Andrew.
that episode was thrown through the no door. It's down there
It
with poor
discovered
Jimmy,
itself
the
and
one
experienced
time.
ego death.
Yeah. It's down there with Jimmy, who was the one-time employee of Wits End, who we never see again.
Yep. Yeah.
He's still wandering those halls looking for that Minotaur. We know poor Jimmy.
Oh man. But yeah, with this being an episode called V.B.S. Blues about V.B.S.
Yes.
And we have AJ Ditty on the podcast.
Acronym
This
City.
is going to be our title with the most punctuation. And I don't know if it's going to be able to be topped.
Yeah, I don't think so.
We've got 5 periods. That's pretty impressive.
It represents the 5 periods of your show. You have early era, you have mid era, and now we're entering into the period era. That's all that means. I don't think it can be topped.
Purgatory and redemption.
Yes, Purgatorio and then Paradiso.
Yeah.
You'll.
If I knew my good Calvinism, they have a 5-point thing, right? That I could make a great joke on, but yeah, there it is. But I'm not
somewhere.
The
Josh
enemy
Borman.
of my...
Somewhere Josh Borman just shot up in a cold sweat. Like he's just staring. It's like, ha!
Predestination!
I'm so sorry. I was just almost referred to Eva von Hove by our character on our podcast, Waluiva von Hove, who is Waluigi, because Waluigi is Dutch. Is the controversial hot take we have about Waluigi. But I do like to imagine that all Calvinists just sound like Waluigi.
I go to school with most of them, and it's not that far off.
Predestination!
Yeah, no, the hand thing that he does when he wins in Mario Kart, they do that when they make a good argument.
I have a mustache and I'm wearing purple right now, I'm realizing.
Yeah, no,
so
and you have a letter on your hat.
Yep, yeah.
I just need a rose in my teeth and like the sexual charisma of a god, and then I can like fully be Waluigi for you.
So much speed.
Yeah, and you're sitting down, so I can't see your hips, but we can assume.
You can, and you know what, Dylan? Assume the worst.
Oh man,
Those are some lying hips he's got there.
Shakira!
From behind the green screen, that was a really long bit. Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
It was. She's been waiting there a very long time. I've gone into bankruptcy for her appearance.
Man,
we appreciate your efforts.
Yeah, of course. And also, if you open the second package I sent you, surprise, it's also Shakira. I really hope I remember to poke holes in the package.
That
Otherwise,
explains
you have
why
a
the
corpse to
seltzer was
dispose of.
flat.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, we all got these blues. We got these V.B.S. blues.
Yeah, V.B.S. Blues. So there's it's a play. They're calling it a sketch. It's funny that they call it a sketch because like the very Christian thing is to call everything a skit.
Yes.
And this is more of a skit than it is a sketch.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's definitely a play.
Yeah, I think skit would probably be the best way to describe it. It turns into a devised theater piece with the worst kids you could ever imagine doing it. Not because I particularly, I don't work with kids a lot with theater, but I have a lot of friends who do, who teach, kids theater and to write their own plays and to put them on. And the most important thing is actually to include them in the creation of the thing, because that's the most fun for them. Kids, in my experience, don't like being told what to do and then being told what that thing is fun. Like, they have to kind of discover it organically. Like you were saying, Dylan, with, discovering Odyssey on your own. Like, the reason you're more immune to it, I think, is because you sought it out on your own. And, it makes more sense that Ned is a teenager and trying to enforce, like, well, everything I know is right, because that's what, teenagers do if they are in the arts for the most part. They're like, I know what other people did before, and that's like the great thing, and so I'm gonna copy them, and then what I'm doing because it's what they're doing is the best thing. But the truth of it is, his play is bad. Like, his skit is really bad. Ned's play's real bad.
Yeah, and it's enhanced by the kids, whether he wants them to or not. Those kids, by the way, we've got Eugene Muggsy Mumford, who
and
is
sons.
He's not. Yeah. Exactly. He's not Eugene of the show.
No.
He's just another pre-Eugene, the same way we have a pre-Jimmy.
Yeah, he gives me a lot of Rathbone energy, this kid. This kid's a rapscallion.
Yes.
He's a little
a
scoundrel.
scallywag.
Yeah.
He would absolutely be a bone of wrath if given the opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. Andrew, please don't say scallywag. If we say it one more time, that actually summons Phil Lawler, and he'll do his pirate voice.
Wait, but didn't you just say it? Or is that's the
That's
second?
two.
That's the second
two.
time.
That's two.
Okay.
You gotta be real
Okay.
careful.
I'm gonna be walking on eggshells because that's normally like the thing I say most in my life.
It's his
So it's gonna be
catchphrase,
really,
famously.
really hard to
Look,
to
here's
avoid.
the thing. You can say it, but like you're gonna have to deal with the consequences. We're gonna throw you in that room.
The other characters or the other kids are Junior and Hank, because it is 1988.
Yeah.
And
Bless you for picking up on those names because flew right over my head.
yeah, no, they're. This is the thing: is my notes are too much, and they so Ned is venting to Wit about all of his frustrations in trying to corral these kids into making this play successfully. And you have the three of these rapscallions. We do a classic flashback device.
We do.
Because early Odyssey loves a flashback.
We get that
and
harp
they
in
gotta
there.
use the sound effect.
Gotta get
Yep.
that harp in there, and I'll be
It's
honest
so
with you.
long.
It's so long. I didn't pick up it was a flashback immediately, and I just thought that the show was as annoyed with Ned as I was, and just decided to yada yada
faded
yada
him
the
out.
rest of his scene. Just like, okay, we're moving on.
Oh man.
That would have been the best outcome, in all honesty.
Yeah, true. Yada yada yada. An entire Odyssey episode would be incredible.
But yeah, and then there's not a lot of meat on this episode because it does just kind of become like recapping it would just be a play-by-play because there's no depth to this plot. But we essentially have the three jerk kids bully their way into Ned's play about the fiery furnace and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Yeah.
And they are, wreaking havoc, and Ned is upset.
They want to do
this is his
Star Wars. They want to
masterpiece.
do a Star Wars.
The amount of Star Wars in this episode is unbelievable.
It's absurd.
Yeah, here's the thing though. It's kind of nice to hear them reference popular culture in a way that's positive. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
the kids are being nuisances, but they're not commenting on how like Star Wars is of the devil. It's just
No,
like something
no,
that
no.
every kid has seen
Yeah,
and
of
is
course.
fun. That obviously turns. Lawler has some opinions on that, I think, later that are quite the opposite of what it is in this one. But that's like one of the few moments they actually vaguely sound like children.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they also reference Rambo, which is
They do!
once again,
I
it's just
know.
general pop culture, but it is weird because Odyssey doesn't seem to exist in a world with general pop culture.
Yeah.
I don't think that there are in universe like characters referencing things that exist beyond the 80s. Like they might like I feel like the approved focus on the family pop culture is 80s and before.
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
the good old
they're-
days, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
For them, not for
us-
me. I want to be very clear.
Right.
Those are
but-
the good old days for me, but like for them, like I mean, the ideal world, they always want to go back to the 1950s Americana, right? The big,
Yes.
yep.
Andy
Back
Griffith
when
show
we
is
made
their
sure
favorite.
no people of color were allowed to buy houses around white people.
No, exactly.
That was when we had it figured out.
Yeah, and they want to say that. Oh, they want to say that so bad. Ooh, they really want to say it so bad. And the mask slips every once in a while, but like, yeah, no, that's really what they want. They just want it to be an all-white hegemony living in the suburbs. They want their theocracy. They want their white ethno-state theocracy.
But they hate Mormons.
Listen, it's very funny because now it seems they've finally like bridged that divide, between them and formed this like political alliance with Mormons.
A dark alliance.
Very, very much so.
Like you had it happen, around like your very like, religious right whatnot, where you started to bridge the gap between Catholic and like Protestant, and the fact that it is now extended into Mormon. Like, we are truly in the worst of all possible worlds.
Hey!
Nay.
That was our original theme song, I'm realizing now. So many possible worlds. There we go. That's
It is a great theme song.
It's so good.
Oh, thank you.
It's
That's my
top-notch.
friend Brendan wrote that. Yeah, he's an incredible musician. And I think he's composed for a couple other podcasts as well.
Very cool.
He wrote a Christmas album called Christmas in Middle Earth, which is all about the various characters from Lord of the Rings
there
celebrating
you go.
Christmas.
Love
And
that.
It's amazing. It's on Spotify. Go give it a listen. I think it also I have the vinyl, but I think you can
Tis
also buy
the
the vinyl
season.
on Q-Rates. Oh yeah, go buy that. This has become a plug for my
Yeah.
friend Brendan. I'm so sorry.
I'm so okay with that.
yeah.
Right.
And I think our audience is pretty on board. Like, I feel like,
Yeah.
of all people, yeah.
It's really
You're
good.
fine.
He
This is
also
good targeted advertising.
Yeah, he also made a stop-motion animation video for Gollum's Christmas. That's like done in the old style of like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. It's wonderful.
Okay. All right.
But yeah,
this is great.
We are living in the worst of all possible worlds. You are correct in that alliance regard. But this is the Halcyon days, right? In these early days of Odyssey, that alliance was still in its infancy, I think.
Yep. Well, because the Republicans were in charge.
Yeah, that's true. But they were still the victims. You see, that's the thing. Oh,
Well,
God.
of course.
They were
because
still suffering so
everyone
much.
was trying to undermine them.
Yeah. Christians are a notoriously, historically
Persecuted,
oppressed group. For at least the last 1,000 years, they've just really gotten the raw end. of
Really
every
the
deal.
short end of the stick.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. They started without power and
Yep.
they never gained it, which is kind of amazing given how many of them there are.
Yeah.
I know.
And how many presidents we've had that are Christian. It is very interesting listening to these early ones because it's also that like the culture war stuff isn't like ratcheted up to 11 yet, right? So this is still very clearly a show for kids. It is still a a show that does tell a Bible story, but it's not. It doesn't feel as insidious as like a lot of the other episodes.
No.
Like this is just a guy has a problem and he's trying to work through that problem in real time. And his problem just happens to be that his entire
He's
ensemble. Yeah, he is. He is.
It's Pamela's problem is also Ned's problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think his problems are twofold. Well, he like things close in on all sides for Ned, really, but like his problems are kind of twofold. And one, he has, his actors are a bunch of newsies who have come to attack him.
Yep.
And undermine his
With
brilliance.
chalkboard erasers.
With chalkboard erasers. They get into a chalkboard eraser fight. A thing I don't think
Chaos.
any child has ever done. At least not since like 1963, I think. They
Right
they
in the
saw,
pocket.
They saw the Kennedy assassination. They're like, no, this is not a time for play. They
no,
were done.
no.
That
Put down the
was it.
chalkboard.
Put down the chalk.
Yeah, no, the last chalkboard fight was on the 21st of November, 1963. After that point, no more chalkboard eraser fights.
Yeah.
No, it's the 22nd. Because it's my birthday.
No, I know that, Andrew, but they did it up until the assassination.
Oh,
I
you're
was
saying
making
they
the
weren't
joke
doing it the
that
morning
was,
of.
They
It was the
weren't
night
doing-
before.
Oh,
They woke
okay,
up and
fair.
saw it that
They
morning.
woke up, they did it the morning of,
I'm
and then
presuming
they stopped
heard
going forward.
Gunshots.
Okay.
And then
All right.
decided to stop, put their erasers down.
They heard the
Christmas.
cast
They were
of they heard the cast of Stephen Sondheim's Assassins singing for John Wilkes for Lee Harvey Oswald to do it, and they were like, no more. Something just broke.
Well, and a little known fact is that the school book depository did also contain erasers.
They made him do it. This is the new conspiracy.
They planted them.
It's all connected, guys. Wait till you see my PowerPoint. It's got all sorts of arrows. There's I didn't quite have the budget or effort to make like a red string board, so I just did it all in PowerPoint and made it look real crappy with a bunch of like transitions. Everything flies in. It'll really sell you on what the deep state's doing.
There
here, guys.
is no John Avery Whitaker in HR.
Why does everybody keep calling for him?
Oh man. I want to talk a little bit about Wit in this episode because what a little stinker. What a little stinker. like Ned tells him this whole story about how these like kids force out anyone else from doing the furnace story because they want to do it so much. And and then it cuts back and Wit is full on laughing at the teenager, and he doesn't say this, but the spirit of it is, sounds like you just got cucked by a 9-year-old.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like, wow, you are up a creek.
I brought you this hotel chair for you to sit in, you little cuck. Like, it's like, I'm hoping with bleeps people could get the context of the cuck chair. Or maybe they put a word that's worse. That's my hope.
Oh man, it's really, Wit's attitude towards this is so blasé, and it's so like he's so. So the reason Ned's worked up about it is because there's actual stakes to this for him.
Yeah,
he has been trying to launch a drama program at the church. Mm-hmm. And the pastor came up to him and was like, look, if your play goes well tomorrow, I'll make sure that drama program happens for you.
And if
There's
not,
gonna be a lot of people there.
Yeah, if not, accidents have a way of happening, you know.
Yeah.
It's so...
I know some people.
Yeah.
It's
Muggsy
such
and his
like...
gang.
They're 9 years old, but they can swing a bat.
Yeah. Well, no, and that's the thing. When he walks away, he's afraid, and he says, like, there's so much gang language in this episode.
Yeah, he's gonna break his legs. He's actually gonna like snap him in twain.
Yeah, I can't believe they made that joke.
It's wild. Also, the pastor. Okay, first of all, a pastor sighting in an Odyssey episode. That's huge.
For sure.
That's
no, it's... There's not many.
Like a shiny Pokemon.
It just comes out and he's literally like he's like a blue version of the pastor. Gotta throw a master ball at him. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's being voiced by executive producer Chuck Bolte, which
could have fooled me. You could have.
Who is he then becomes the parent, the father figure for Donna and Jimmy. He voices that character down the road.
Right.
He only has the one voice. He's not a Phil Lawler.
Well, he kind of sounds a little like Ned Flanders.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's got a slight southern bit in there, but
he's making an attempt.
Well, you better do that. You better get that drama program started up, or I'm gonna break your legs, Hallie Dooley. I just kept picturing of it just like, well, if you get thrown in a furnace, it feels like you're wearing nothing at all. Nothing at all. Stupid sexy pastor.
That's good.
Yeah, it's so rare. It's so weird having a pastor, having an authority figure on God that's not Wit in an episode. Mm-hmm. They really still are like trying to figure the show out, and you can feel that in this especially.
Yep. And right, so this is the setup as the pastor's favorite Bible story is the furnace, which
concerning.
Sure. I mean, I guess you gotta pick one. I guess furnace.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not surprised though, because it is a situation where they were like rude and then got a ton of power politically from it. So
yeah.
Sure. Where there was persecution and they came out on top.
Yep. Like top.
Yeah.
Like not just a live top, like topping an entire empire.
Oh, absolutely. And
Empire.
Well, I mean, and then they got to, they tore down the big chocolate bunny at the end, and they sang, they didn't have to sing, I'd love to stay and watch, but it's almost 8 o'clock and I haven't got the time because we work real hard at the chocolate factory. That's the thing about VeggieTales. You have to set things to song, and then it just sinks into your brain forever. I will never forget that. But another thing I say a lot is that VeggieTales really went out of its way to teach you how to be a well-rounded person. Not to just be a good Christian, but to you also had to develop a personality. Like you had to do silly songs with Larry. Like you had to be, you had to develop that side of you. And, judging by the comedy that Phil Lawler dishes out in this episode of Odyssey, you don't have to learn to be funny. You just have to trust in God. God's gonna.
You don't have to be a nice person. You just have to trust in God. He'll protect you from everything. There's some outlandish claims made about God.
Yeah, well, that's Wit's whole advice, right? Is just like, oh, God will protect you, just the way he protected those 3 dinguses in the furnace,
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the actual play itself happens and is so much better than it has any right to be, and that is purely because you have the kids doing Rocky Horror from the stage.
Yes.
It's great.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious because it is the only way that this play could be good. Like, literally,
Right.
he is reading straight from the Bible, and that book of the Bible is written as a history book.
Yes.
So without that, there's nothing.
Right. This is the guy who wants to run the drama program, and he's like, what if we just did the straight adaptation? I'm going to take no liberties. I don't have a creative vision. Like, we're just doing this. Now, maybe, and I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, we do have an audio medium, so maybe it's like a Orson Welles situation where all of the actual, like, depth he's bringing to it is in the costuming.
Right.
But,
the staging,
like,
yeah.
Right. Exactly. Where I'm like,
Furnace.
Yes.
New band name.
but yeah, maybe it's, maybe it's a Caesar situation. But my hunch is that no, he has literally done nothing with the stage adaptation here.
Yeah, no, what I will say that's interesting about the heckling that happens from the kids is that it still feels extremely scripted. Like it,
Right. For sure.
It still feels like they went off and wrote their own play, like actually wrote it down and memorized lines so that they can perform them. One of the kids yells,
Which is the Rocky Horror of it all.
Oh, yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's like there are specific ad-libs that we throw out at these specific times.
Yeah, I keep thinking of, like, I really wanted to, like, make it like a room screening where you just hand out spoons to the audience and have them throw them at the stage.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it's, like, one of the kids screams out "Ratfink" at one point, which I thought was so weird. And, like, what kid has said "Ratfink," I think, ever? Not organically? I don't know.
Maybe in the 1930s. I wasn't alive, but
I guess that's true. I guess that's true. Look, it was the Depression.
yeah.
Everyone
Food was hard to come by.
Food was hard to come by, and so if a rat stole your bread, you had to have something to call him.
Yeah.
God, I really don't want to, like, go do research into Ratfink and find out it's, like, from some horrible origin.
Yeah, no, we can just leave it.
Yeah, let's leave that one alone. Let's leave that mystery be.
Yeah.
Like the
just
leftovers.
some stones don't need to be turned,
Yeah, I think so. I have a question for both of you about this particular thing, like seeing skits like this in your religious background.
Okay.
Did it ever, when you were kids, did it ever become tiresome to see the same old stories performed over and over and over and over again?
Oh, yeah.
So I do not have much of the skit background.
Okay, good.
This was not a huge part of any of my thing. Andrew's homeschooled, so that was kind of his whole thing. But for me,
were there puppets,
Andrew?
Andrew?
No, there weren't any puppets.
Oh, that's a
oh,
shame.
but there were missions trips and there were all kinds of live. I mean, were you at El Faro, Dylan?
I was at El Faro. I think I avoided all the skit stuff because if there's one thing I hate, it's being on stage.
Yeah, no, and little, like, attention-starved Andrew loved it. So
Right. I mean, you were actually in plays and stuff.
Yeah,
like that was more of like way more of your thing. And I was like,
well, it's my
I
family's thing.
considered for years maybe doing pit orchestra, and then I didn't. So that was my exposure to the theater.
Wow. Andrew, can I ask, did you ever do any of McCusker's plays?
No, but
because I'm dying to get my hands on those scripts.
Yeah,
like,
I want the
to read
Catholic
one of those.
McCusker scripts. I want to see the depths of his, like, deconstructed evangelical mind spilled out across some, like, poor unsuspecting characters.
Do you know how bad your brainworms have to be to convert from evangelicalism to Catholicism?
Dude, he
I
just
know, I'm almost there.
I watched.
Hey, welcome.
This is what's gonna put you.
I go to
We
mass
get you
way
drunk.
more than I go to church.
Yeah, we'll get you drunk.
It's 40 minutes. It's so fast. I love the call and response. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Watching that sliding scale where it's like he kept going for the more and more rigid forms of Protestantism to where, like, he was Anglican and then he was like, all right, I'm just gonna fully commit. Like, we're going Catholic.
Yeah. He was like,
And they still let him write episodes sometimes. So you know what?
I mean, that's the alliance, right? That's the thing, is that like now it's pretty hard to differentiate between the two belief systems because, I mean, I could be wrong about this, but evangelicalism for a very long time didn't give a flying hoot about abortion, and then
Correct. Famously.
Until the 70s.
yeah, because they lost the culture war against black people, and they were
Right.
like, we need something else to rise up our base. And
they
then
were like, interracial marriage is kosher now. I guess we got to find something else.
we got to like stir the pot to like get our voters out there, and they looked at Catholicism and were like, hey. They seem mad. How do we bottle some of that for us?
Yeah.
Right, which was the first and last time Christians ever culturally appropriated anything.
Yeah, no.
And also, weirdly, the least problematic version of it.
Yeah, but it's one of those things too where it's like, when they start appropriating from different sects of Christianity, it's like it's like stealing mayonnaise. It's like, what do? You're gonna put olive oil on there because honestly, I guess that is the Catholic thing, right? The Italian, you throw a little olive oil in that mayo, and then it's like, oh, it's a whole new thing. But like, it just feels so, I don't know. It was a very smart evil tactic, and that's I hate how I have to sometimes acknowledge how just absolutely like diabolically clever some of these cultural
it's
moves are.
horrifying.
It's a nightmare that people spend their time like actively trying to destroy the lives of others.
Well, and I'm at a school that actively indoctrinates people to propagate the most conservative of beliefs, and it's horrifying because they'll reckon with it. Like, there've been course material for classes where we watch about the history of evangelical culture in America, or just the history of Christianity in America, and like they accept it. They're like, oh yeah, that was great. Well, we just, decided to abandon the teachings of Christ about being involved in the government and just did it. That was great. That was awesome.
Yeah. And
then it ends with like Bush, and then, postmodernism finally made it to America, so we're bad again and we're oppressed.
Yep. And it's like, I don't know about y'all, but I feel like Paul is like the worst thing to ever happen to the church because he was.
That's my hot take.
I like your fanfic. I will very much read the Andrew Sabo Bible fanfic.
Yeah,
we could do that as a bonus episode.
An erotica about Paul.
Hey, here's the thing. It exists. Trust me, I wrote
Paul
it.
and Timothy,
so,
for sure. That's in package
This is another
number
one of your
3.
plays that you're working on.
This is another one of my plays. Actually, okay, so here's the truth of it. I don't think I can ever actually write a Bible play because about 6 or 7 years ago, I was in a play called The Mysteries, which premiered at a theater called the Flea Theater, which I can talk about on this podcast and never on my own. It is a rule. But it was a 6-hour Bible play that we would do every night. 48 playwrights, like modern playwrights like Jose Rivera, and would take an episode of the mysteries of the mystery plays of the York Mystery Cycle, where back in England where nobody could read in like the 1300s, they would perform Bible stories, and different guilds around the town would put on different stories. So like the carpenters would build Noah's Ark and perform Noah's story, so that you could like get the teachings of the Bible and do it like in a fun like community building way. And so
very much like this episode.
Yes, exactly like this. And so we did something similar, but in the modern day with contemporary playwrights with contemporary and progressive values. And I played Doubting Thomas, and the doctor that tells Mary that she's pregnant.
Amen.
Yeah.
Those are the only 2 genders I subscribe to.
Yeah, no. Yes.
Thomas
Brilliant.
and Dr. Mary.
And Doctor and Thomas. But
the doctor was a man?
Oh! That's the trick. We all have to
double gotcha.
We all have to re-examine our biases, at assuming the doctor wasn't a man. But yeah, no, it was. That was that spirit of like coming together and building the community. It really stuck out to me in this episode in particular because it was like that's kind of where we come to at the end, right? Is that they come together, they collaborate, they actually make it better than it was. Ned still thinks it's garbage, which I think is a bad thing. I think that's a bad thing. I think he should have walked away from this thing being like, wow, they actually made it better, and like to be humbled. But no, they're forced to apologize to him. The pastor says, okay, so actually here's the thing. The pastor gives some of the worst praise I've ever heard in my life. He
calls it cute and interesting.
If I got that after a play, I would throw myself off a bridge. Like it is so that would hurt more. Just tell me you hate it. Just tell me that it was bad.
Yep. I always think of anytime I hear interesting used as like a compliment I always just think of there's a line in Captain Fantastic where someone says something's interesting and someone else yells, "Forbidden word, that's a non-answer." And I just think about it every time. Anytime I'm tempted to say something's interesting, I'm like, you know what? That is just me masking my actual feelings.
Yeah,
You're right.
is. That's very well put. And you can tell that the pastor is masking a lot lot of feelings about this.
But he does. The pastor's so frustrating because it's a combination of the pastor and just Phil Lawler's writing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it is the most ham-fisted, like, we're doing, like, Ned's coming out feeling all dejected, and the pastor is like, Ned, we have to talk. I've got something I need to say. And it's like, I loved it. And it's like, oh, okay.
You could have just said that.
But he, yeah,
you could have
exactly. But he's gotta like put the fear of God into Ned and really put him on edge, which is like, can be a fun bit, but is not when you're like the actual person who's holding this thing in his hands.
Yeah, and I know this gets like really, really in the weeds on this, but it's the fact that Ned gets out the word bad when he says, I know it was really bad. And then the pastor doesn't acknowledge that's what he said. He just kind of keeps going on with like his bit, like his shtick. Maybe the pastor's a little bit of a stinker, but it struck me as bad writing. It just struck me as he shouldn't have gotten the word bad out, or else the pastor would immediately be like, no, it was great. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Right.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
I'm not great. Cute and interesting.
Cute and interesting. I know. I keep wanting to make the pastor sound more enthusiastic. But right, that's the thing, is he's so...
Yeah. It's rough. And Ned gets to lead the drama program, right? Like he
got his wish.
Yeah, and I imagine the pastor walking away and Ned looking at his hands and being like, I can do anything I want. And then I'm very much looking forward to Ned staging Marat Sod at the next church picnic.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful.
That also leads me to one of my favorite line deliveries
Odyssey
in this
does
whole
cats?
thing. Yeah. Oh, well, there never was there ever a cat so clever as John Avery Whittaker.
That is the question of the day. What cat is John Avery Whittaker?
McCavity.
Okay.
He's committed every crime known to humans.
There you go.
He's the Napoleon of crime. I guess that's blackguard, but like
Sure, but
in my
I don't
know. Eugene is Skimbleshanks because he's the clear winner and the best. We stan Eugene Meltzner.
What a man.
What a mighty good man. But yeah, no, my favorite line delivery in this whole thing, there's a kid who at one point, it's Ned. It's Ned says, first of all, I don't know, do you know who voices Ned? I don't mean to throw this guy under the bus too much.
No, so I can absolutely pull it up. It is Steve Wunsch.
Okay, Steve Wunsch, don't quit your day job in terms of voice acting, but he delivers a line. He's like, oh, these kids only go to church only when there's a picnic or a potluck going on. Like, he really hits luck. And I was like, oh, we didn't want to do a take two, guys. We didn't want to try it. Okay, great. We're just
rolling with it.
Now look, AG, let me jump in here to say, if you're interested,
yes.
Steve Wunsch is currently available to book on Voice 123.
Oh, hell yeah.
He was last active a year ago.
Okay.
But if you're looking for someone whose voices can be wry, crisp, character specialist, or guy next door,
can
I give you Mr. Stephen Wunsch?
Please, yeah, absolutely. Y'all should hire
I
him.
feel like guy next door is a non-adjective in that situation.
That could be anyone. Anyone can live next door to somebody. Y'all should get him. Y'all should hire him to do the intro for one of your episodes.
That's not the worst idea.
Yeah. I mean, are any of these people on Cameo? Are any of the voice actors like is Connie on Cameo?
Yes. So both Katie Lee and Chris have been active on Cameo at different points.
Wow.
Will Ryan was also on Cameo, God rest his soul.
Will Ryan, I want to go out of my way to say, like, one of the best voice actors, like, who ever played the game. Like, he imbues such warmth and joy into every character he does. Like, you can really get a sense of whenever he's in the studio with the kids, that the kids are having the time of their lives. Like, he brings every episode of Odyssey that he's in to an entirely, like, higher level. And when Eugene thought he might go to hell, let me tell you something. That episode made me mad for a lot of reasons. But I
Understandable.
think, but I think one of the big ones was that I didn't want to hear Eugene be hurt that way. I didn't want him to be going through that distress, and that's all the credit to Will Ryan, who is just tremendous. He's not in this episode.
And that post hell like conversations he has are performed great on both sides of those. But he is. Yeah,
I'm not
we
surprised.
Lost quite a gem.
Yeah.
Like
my friend actually was sent off to audition for the replacement for Eugene, and he was like, "So what's Adventures in Odyssey about?" And I said, "How much time do you have? Have I got a podcast for you?" Yeah, no, it's I mean he's just irreplaceable. I mean, whoever they get is probably going to be doing like an interesting impression, but I mean, I guess they regenerated Wit, so I mean they can regenerate anyone.
Yeah, they've brought Wit back. It'll be interesting to see whether or not they cast someone long term in that role, or they cast someone temporarily to write him out of the show, because they've done both over the years. I
feel like they're going to write him off. I would be very upset if they didn't.
I agree. It would be hurtful if they didn't, but I'm not entirely convinced.
I'm not entirely convinced either, which is incredibly upsetting.
Yeah, it's like that. Well, because like
I always like that.
I think y'all have made this comparison too, but how Adventures in Odyssey is like evangelical Simpsons, right? That
100%.
Yeah. And what's interesting about that is that no one on The Simpsons has died yet. They have yet to reckon with what happens when you have to replace a voice actor on that show. And I think if you want to keep it going, if you want to keep that money machine a churning, you just do like Doctor Who and regenerate them. You send Wit off to an archaeological dig to maybe one day return. Maybe
the archaeological dig up north.
And I guess this is like sort of a broader question, but do you feel that like certain writers for Odyssey write better for certain wits than others? In the way that like I feel like is it Russell T? I always want to say Russell T. Davies. I think.
Yeah, it's Russell T. Davies.
It is Russell T. Davies. Great. Ronald Moore. That's who I always get it mixed up with. But Russell T. Davies, like I think he really came into his own as a writer on Doctor Who when Tennant took over. Even though the Eccleston season is pretty flawless in terms of exposition, but like he really found his voice as the Doctor through Tennant. So do you find that's true with Odyssey too? Like over the generations that they find their voice better than others.
Yeah, well, I would say one of the boons to the Hurlinger era is it's also the era where Phil is not involved in the show for the most part.
Interesting.
He leaves to go make 321 Penguins and do some other stuff.
No, that's not a real thing. You can't.
321 Penguins is
that's a real thing.
Is a the guys behind VeggieTales.
Oh wow!
I forget what his name's escaping me, but
interesting.
Shoot,
can I flex on both of you right now?
Yeah,
absolutely.
right
Do it.
quick. So
Please.
I, by being here and recording this podcast, am missing out on a talk that the co-creator of VeggieTales is giving at LBC right now.
Oh, whoa!
Oh,
I'm sorry.
No, don't be.
Okay,
no,
okay.
I wouldn't be there anyway.
is it
but-
the? It's got to be the other co-creator.
No, it's not the
it's
one.
not the
that-
progressive
Not the
one.
progressive one.
Oh, what a bummer.
what a
I'm
bummer.
really
What a shame.
Did you see that? The
That
co-creator
his tweet
about-
storm the other week was incredible.
No,
about
I didn't see that.
the VeggieTales being canonically trans because tomatoes are both fruits and vegetables.
Yes.
All right, you know what?
It was implication, but we'll take it. He also, he's very online in concerning ways.
Oh,
but
sure, yeah,
But
but-
he seems to be in much better shape than most of the people from this industry. So
Yeah.
The limbo bar is real high on that one.
Yeah, again. There's so many bars this episode. We might as well be a crawl at this point.
But yeah, so I feel like I associate Hurlinger Wit very much with McCusker's writing and like Marshall Younger and some of the others. But
Yeah.
I think no one writes Connie as well as Kathy Buchanan does, which makes sense because she's the only woman to ever have tenure as a writer on the show.
Yeah.
So she does a really good job at writing Connie in a way that
one.
the only one to have more than like 5 episodes to their name or something.
Wow.
Like she's the only one who's been there for multiple years.
And I think it's her side gig too.
Yeah, she does other stuff. I don't know to what extent she's involved now. Because she's but she's been there since the 90s, so
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say probably. I feel like Nathan Hubler does really good post Novacom with all of that stuff in that era of the show, and I would say that he, like, then once you hit like the album 50 soft reset, you see it fall off a lot more. But as that era of the show features Connie more, I feel like Kathy Buchanan is better, like because she's more involved.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's great. So much to look forward to,
Exactly.
Golly gee
Yeah,
willikers.
in 4 years, when you get to talk about the one woman who wrote on the show, what a treat that'll be.
Honestly,
It'll be like
I'm
a
looking
breath
forward
of
to it.
fresh air.
That's what I'm looking forward to with the Hurlinger era is that it's like I'm looking forward to that time when
It gets out of the dogma into more of the Simpsons territory, and it does do some very cool things, in my opinion.
I mean
And some horrifying things. Don't.
no.
Don't
It's
feel
the
too safe.
balance. It's the balance. My favorite thing when I listen to a radio drama is I don't ever want to feel safe. I think
Yeah. Oh yeah. When I'm in my own home, I never want to feel safe.
on the edge of my seat. It's great for my panic attacks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Exposure therapy. Yeah.
Also, I would like to issue an apology statement to Abigail Geiger, who has 9 episodes to her name,
Oh.
not 5, as I initially implied. So
Oh, sure.
apologies to you.
Well, she's right here and she's furious.
With Shakira? Oh my God.
Oh no, they're kissing. No, but so where Phil Lawler just exploded. Actually, I think.
I really hope he chooses this episode to listen to.
I hope so because I'm coming
I
for
think
you,
he
Lawler.
listens to all of them.
Yeah.
Seriously?
No.
Okay. There's no way.
No, that was a joke. My
Okay.
word.
No, he does.
But he might be sadistic enough.
Maybe. I think.
I think I would have heard more from him if he was listening to every episode.
I think
guess
he
it's
does
masochistic
listen
enough.
to every episode of the official podcast while rubbing his nippies. I think
Yeah.
that's sort of that's where he gets his kicks.
His little nippies.
Little
His little 70-year-old crusty white-haired nippies.
nipperinos. I don't know what Phil Lawler sounds like. Hold on, we can find.
it's the pirate voice.
Yeah, well, we can find out. Scallywag.
Don't say the S word.
Oh no! I'm here. There it is. I don't want to push you all for time, but I do have one. Have one like big final question that I'm very curious to hear both of your answers to, if that's okay.
Bring it on. I shouldn't speak for Andrew.
No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm living for this. We're good.
So this is a question I asked Josh and Brian, I think pretty early on when we were going to do Odyssey as sort of a regular thing. And it's a question I like to ask people who listen to a lot of the show and who do it on a pretty consistent basis or grew up with it and are now like re-listening to it. And I know this sounds, I think, more confrontational than I think I
do well with
mean it to.
confrontation.
I mean it to,
Great.
but like what are you looking for? What is the thing?
Interesting.
What is the thing at like the core of Odyssey that you are looking to find by revisiting it, or is it something that you discover each time you listen to a new episode? That's the question I throw to you too.
Dylan, do you want to go first?
I was going to ask you the same thing, but sure, I got this.
Okay.
I think there's a level of neurosis of just like, this is like, I grew up on it. I listened to it far past when I was like in the demographic for it, but I went for a really long stretch without listening to it.
Right.
It's not like it's been a constant, and I brought it, like it came back into my life with this show.
Interesting.
Like it was a thing that always existed as kind of a back process that was like one of those where it's just like, it's such a breadth of catalog that like there are references and things and that are a part of who I am, unfortunately, at this point that I can trace back to the show.
Right.
When someone says, excuse you, or excuse me, and my gut instinct is to say, there's no excuse for you, that is an Odyssey thing.
It's great. I mean, it's a great line.
Sure. Like, I'm a fan. But, like, there is stuff, there's stuff through and through of this show that formed me, and so revisiting it was very much a decision of, I would like to examine something that was really formative to me, not necessarily from a like morality or a faith perspective, but from a story perspective, from a like media perspective. Like in so many ways, like my first exposure to any sort of long form storytelling. Yeah. Of like what happens if something goes on for years and years and like has continuity and whatnot. Yeah. And so went back to it kind of for that, to be like, this was really important to me. What's the deal here? Right. And then since then, I am kept in it purely because of this show. It is not, I won't do the 10-hour road trip where I listen to The Ties That Bind. Like, I listen to the episodes we're covering, and occasionally, if I'm trying to work out something with a guest or whatnot, we'll listen to a couple to figure out what's going to be the best fit. Sure. But even then, it's like a skim. Right. Like, it's not, I don't live and breathe this show anymore. Right.
But you used to.
But I used to. And as a kid, right, it was just like, it was stories, it was accessible. Nobody was going to, even though it wasn't like my parents were telling me to listen to this, nobody was going to question if I was. Yeah. In the way that, like, you know, I might have only been able to watch, you know, Star Wars with my parents at a young age. Sure. I could listen to Odyssey whenever. Yeah. And so that,
it was your thing. It was entirely yours.
It was screened. It was okay. It was available, and it fulfilled a multi-purpose of, I can do this while I do something else. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. Which is that, if nothing else, the storytelling and audio as a medium are what have carried into adulthood. Yeah. I wouldn't be doing an Odyssey podcast if I hadn't listened to Odyssey, but I wouldn't be doing a podcast if I hadn't listened to Odyssey either. Yeah.
Exactly. I would say that that's a big thing for me as well, where I always listened to stories growing up. Like when we were in road trips on the car, we always played like it was an audiobook or something like that, and then it was Odyssey. But like I remember having like Thomas the Tank Engine like audio dramas that I'd listen to as a child to go to sleep to. Yeah, and like I'm still looking for them, so if anybody can find them, please send them to me, because I swear to God, those are the most calming voice actors on the planet.
I think George Carlin has a lot of those in his basement.
But yeah, so that was like a big thing for me, and then Odyssey was again, like it was safe, it was accessible, and then I had younger siblings that liked it, I had older siblings that liked it, and it was just always the thing that was safe to put on, because, my little sister that was, 2 years younger than me would be okay to hear it. And my older brother, who was 7 years older than me, still would tolerate it. And so it did fill this certain kind of like glue for my family in a lot of ways, where it, like in VeggieTales would be the same thing, where it was just this like very accessible, fun content that was not really heavily metered by our parents, because it wasn't problematic in any way. And then to come back to it, I think my faith has just evolved a lot, like radically transformed since from growing up in that culture, and in the church, in the evangelical church specifically. So I was on the beginning of that journey when we started the show 4 years ago, and so as I've evolved and as I've grown and everything, it's been interesting, but I've also felt myself kind of falling out of love with the show in that sense, where it was like there was so much that I valued and held so much like childlike nostalgia for me, and like kind of heal your inner child type stuff. And then, the more you look into it, the more you're seeing what they're doing, the more you grow and learn about these actual companies and everything. It becomes so much harder to separate the two. But, I find so much solace in the podcast that we have, because it connects me with people that are like me, that have a certain amount of perspective from listening to it as a child, and then kind of growing out of it, and looking back with like an affectionate but still critical lens. Yeah.
And the other thing that I think makes it, that gives it kind of that evergreen, that gives it that evergreen. The other thing that gives it that evergreen value is the fact that it's of an era and of a mentality of children's programming that's not playing to lowest common denominator.
Yes,
in a way that's really effective.
Yeah.
So it's like there are episodes that feature no kids, nor things that kids should necessarily be interested in.
A lot of real estate acquisition. Yeah.
Right.
A lot of board meetings, town board meetings. Yeah.
That then, just gets baked in as things that you can listen to now and be like, oh, it's interesting that they were even talking about this.
Yeah.
But as a kid, I feel like having stuff go over your head is like kind of a great feeling.
Yeah.
Where like you do feel a little bit like you're getting away with something.
Yeah.
Or like that these are adults talking, because they're saying things and I don't understand all of them, but I get the gist.
Right. That's fascinating. Thank you both. Yeah. Thank you both for sharing that.
Thank you for asking.
It does seem like I can't relate necessarily with Odyssey, but it's like any sort of media that I grew up with, I feel like I'm always just kind of searching for myself, or at least some past version of me that can never be again, and sort of reckoning with that. And it sounds like that is the case for both of you too, with this show. And Andrew, to your point, it's like that there are other people like you out there. We've had a lot of people reach out on our podcast and talk about how listening to us talk about it, and I'm sure y'all have got this, have gotten this as well, but it's just like it helps you reckon with the fact that you grew up with it, and that like you are now a different person than you were back then. But like there is something that feels very homey about it. That it does feel like returning to like a warm, cozy fire on like a cold winter's night. There is an untranslatable German word called Geborgenheit, which roughly translates to the feeling you get after being outside in a snowstorm and entering into a warm cabin in the middle of the night and taking off your coat and feeling this sense of being at home. And the sense I get from both of you is that this show might have an element of that Geborgenheit to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it was the gateway drug for all all of that for me, I would say.
Yeah. To flip it on you, AJ.
Yeah.
What's your level of excitement / dread when you're approaching new episodes of Odyssey to cover for your show?
I guess it depends on. It honestly depends week to week. It also depends on the episodes that we cover. Like there was one where the Barclays, I think, had like a family staycation where they just stayed at home.
Yeah,
and
that's
that
a
one,
classic.
that one was just very inoffensive and kind of silly and nice, and it didn't really have a message to preach other than like, hey, it's good to hang out with your family sometimes, and that kind of like love without any sort of strings attached is actually kind of fun, and it's also probably the greatest example of parenting in all of Odyssey, where it's just like, hey, we can't go anywhere, but the dad's like really trying his best to like make it fun for the kids, and everyone's saying, you know, they're all saying yes to the bit. So like stuff like those episodes I find pretty harmless, even though that
once
one
in a while they remember the family part of what they're supposed to be focusing on.
Yeah, they're very not focused on the family for one who claims to be so much so. But then, you know, that episode also has like 10 minutes of water fights because they just didn't have enough like things to fill the whole episode. But yeah, it's really only dreadful I find Odyssey is only really, really hard to listen to in the last 5 or 6 minutes of any given episode, because that's when the turn happens.
Yep.
That's when they have to sell you, right? That's when they
the
have
milk
to really
goes sour.
push the book on you. And sometimes it's very funny when Chris doesn't know how to wrap up an episode and will just quote like a random Bible verse that has nothing to do with what came before. And, you know...
Speaking of which, this episode...
Yeah! Oh, yeah. I love that Chris's message is be more annoying to your friends.
Yeah, yep. At the end, she pulls it out of Hebrews, completely out of context. She's talking to... The author of Hebrews is talking about Jesus, and she's taking it literally as, like, the Word of God as the canonical Bible we still have. So,
great, good.
There's that, too.
Amazing.
Love it.
Thank you for looking that up, because it's one of my great sins on this end. My podcast is just not looking up the Bible verses. Mostly because it burns me to touch a Bible.
So, yeah, naturally.
But yeah, no.
I'm at the point where it's like warm. It's warm to the touch.
Oh, yes. Well, you'll get
I don't know if you remember that time.
Like
was
your
that
phone
before
when it's like, you know, sat out on a hot day.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You pick it up and
exactly.
you're like,
ooh,
this isn't like the temperature it's supposed to be, but it's still fine.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
I'm not
downloading too
being
much stuff.
directly harmed
Yeah.
yet, but
But it's coming. I can definitely
against my
feel it
thigh
coming.
too long.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, mostly it's not the first episode I dread. It's the third or fourth. That's where I'm really tired, and I've now allotted myself breaks. I used to just binge it, but it's not, I think, a show that's meant to be binged, and my mental health can't handle binging them anymore. So
That's fair.
I do try and space them out. But yeah, no, you really want the episodes like Monty's Christmas. You know, like that's like. You hope that they're going to be that. And I know there will be more in the future. I'm still in a very rough part of the Odyssey timeline, so I know things do get better, but I just really need those days to come sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of Odyssey, of it being Simpsons-esque and having this deep a library, is you can pick and choose the Odyssey you want to go back to.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
We've never done an episode on Pamela Has a Problem because I don't want to. Like, because I have. Yeah, fair. Also, like, I'm in control of what this show is.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, no, that's not what I feel like talking about.
Yeah. Well, and
so
I would say that is something like that makes making this show more enjoyable, is that it is very pertinent to both me and Dylan that we really pick and choose.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that we're, because you can dunk on it for the same stuff every week over and over again if you really want to, and that's a good time, and it's funny, and it's due. It's due, but
They've earned it.
Yes.
but I get more enjoyment when there's at least something positive that I can contrast the negative with.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
great.
Cool. I think that does it for closing thoughts, unless anybody has like a burning like stray observation or something that they need to get off their chest here.
No, I talked about the Hebrews text. We're good.
Nailed it.
Well done.
All I will say is that if I had to actually watch that skit live, I would be rooting for the furnace.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
That's all.
Oh, the trapdoor underneath them.
Understandable.
The phantom of the auditorium.
Yeah.
Come and take him
I'm
out.
Team Chandelier.
Wit for me. Yeah.
So do you guys have anything you'd like to plug here at the end, AJ?
Yeah.
We will do links in the show notes, both for stuff mentioned earlier in the episode and for whatever you say now. So
Fantastic.
Floor's yours.
Yeah. I co-host a podcast called The Worst of All Possible Worlds. We do case studies in the pop culture of a dying empire. So we do one Odyssey episode a month, which is as much as our brains can handle. And then we also cover things like a lot of other reactionary works, a lot of evangelical movies and that sort of thing. We also do video games and sometimes things we just want to talk about. A lot of musicals. That's for me because I love them so much. And yeah, it's a real fun, good time. My co-hosts Josh and Brian grew up with Odyssey, so they're taking me on an Odyssey of my own in a series we call Wildest Summer, which is a lot of fun. And then yeah, I also, you can follow me at the Fuzzy Mask on Twitter and at the Fuzzy Masked Man on Instagram. I particularly recommend following me on Instagram because I'm just better at it than I am at Twitter because I think theater people are just better at Instagram than they are at Twitter. I think is sort of a general statement. But I also on my Instagram during the pandemic, I adapted the Island of Dr. Moreau into Animal Crossing. And I saved it all in my stories, and you can follow along with it. It's one of the things I'm most proud of. I mean, the problem is that it's good. Like, I wouldn't be here like pitching it if I didn't really, really believe in it. It's just, it's really, really cool stuff. Yeah, I think that's it. If you like plays, I'm on New Play Exchange under the name AJ Ditty, and read them, and then write nice things about me because I need people to like me. And yeah, no, that's
and if you like stories about a certain wizarding school,
oh, of course,
there is a filmed version of a play that you're in.
Yes, the Puffs are seven.
Very good.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, it's called Puffs are 7 increasingly eventful years at a certain school of magic and magic. I play the narrator in it, and it's all seven years of the wizarding series you know and hate the author of. But for different reasons than your parents did. Yes, absolutely. Yes, to be very clear, especially the ones listening to this podcast. Very different reasons. But yeah, it was an amazing 3 years of my life, and I met my lifelong friends through it. My fiance and I were in the show together. They're behind this curtain. Ooh, the person behind the curtain.
Wait, it's not Shakira?
Oh, it's not
or
Shakira.
It is Shakira. Okay.
They're actually hanging out with both Shakira and Geiger, H.R. Geiger. What was her name? I'm so sorry. What was the name? I know it's not
Abigail Geiger.
Yes, Abigail Geiger. I really loved her work on Alien. And
I'm more of a Dark Star man myself.
Ooh, controversial. But yeah, no, it's a really fun time. Puffs is, and so if you can get it on Amazon, I don't see any of that money, but and that's all the more reason you can trust my recommendation because
There
I'm
it
not
is.
seeing a dime.
No benefit.
No, like the Adventures in Odyssey voice actors of old. I see no
Hey,
residuals.
cheers to that.
Oh, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on, AJ. I say sincerely that you have been both cute and interesting.
Yes, thank
sincerely
you.
Cute and interesting
Yes.
in the least condescending way.
Thank you. That means the world coming from both of you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been a blast. And
true
to
delight.
you listening, Chalk Squad, we will see you in a week with another episode, or maybe it's the Thanksgiving break. I honestly can't remember when this one comes out, but there's probably an episode next week, and if there is, it'll probably be with a guest, so look forward to that. Bye, guys.
Bye.
You get to say bye too, AJ.
Oh, bye.
Wadfam Chalk Pod is a presentation of the Lidditz Podcast Co-op. This show is a fan podcast and has no official affiliation with Adventures in Odyssey or Focus on the Family. As such, the copyright is ours under Creative Commons. Follow the podcast at wadfamchalkpod on Twitter and Instagram, or email us at wadfamchalkpod@gmail.com. V.B.S. Blues was hosted by Dylan Weaver and Andrew Acebo, with special guest AJ Ditty. It was edited by Dylan Weaver. And I'm Nathan Haverston, hoping you'll join us again next time for more of the Wadfam Chalk Pod.